G'day, mate, and I'm Colin Dangard, and welcome back to the Colin Dangard Show. Since our lives on the planet here, they say we've been around 5 million years, don't know about the exact number, but however, we've been here a long, long time. But in more recent times, maybe the last 1 or 2 million years, I don't know, we have lost connection with the Earth. We now don't run around with our feet in the earth anymore. We live in buildings. We are disconnected from the earth. We wear shoes that have rubber soles, and this stops the electromagnetic forces that come from the core of the earth and have traditionally invaded our bodies to make us well and protect us from all kind of things that have happened in the past. But now we've lost that protection because we've isolated ourselves from the earth. I'd like to give you this quote from Hypocratus. Illnesses do not come upon us out of the blue. They are developed from small daily sins against nature. When enough sins have been accumulated, illness will suddenly appear. That's from Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine. And I think he was onto something there. And he said that 2,500 years ago. And it's very relevant today. We've managed to find all kind of attacks on all kind of diseases, but inflammation is at the core of 90% of our illnesses. Whereas inflammation comes from this lack of connection with the earth. So it has been shown and proven. The closer we are to the earth, the better off we are. Our brain runs on electricity, and our brains rule our bodies. Open to argument there. Some people say the stomach rules the body, but regardless, the intersection of information is our brain, which is why it has many compartments. Each compartment designed to direct traffic for that particular engagement that's being called upon. So it is imperative upon us to get back to the earth. We have rubber sole shoes. Rubber is a big insulator. Electricity doesn't go through rubber. We live in high-rise apartments. We are disconnected there. So it's overall a very large disconnect. And it's been proven and shown that inflammation comes from a lack of electrical activity in the brain, which stems to all kinds of diseases. Inflammation is said to be at the core of 90% of the diseases we suffer today. People say, how come we didn't have all these diseases 100 years ago? Some people say, well, we didn't have a way of recording them at that time. Maybe true there, but I doubt that is the sole reason for it. I think we just didn't have these diseases, and one reason we didn't was we were running around barefoot or sleeping on the ground or living in caves or whatever we were doing. But whatever the situation was back then, you can guarantee we were close to the earth. Now, one of my great sources of this and my belief in this is a book called Earthing. I love this book. I've read it several times, and I use it as my Bible. It's the disconnect syndrome, how we've disconnected ourselves from the earth, and they've done lots of studies in this. And I was shocked when I first read this book because it reaffirmed something that I discovered when I was 14, living in the bush, as I explained in an earlier podcast. I went bush at 14 because I had a very bad speech impediment and couldn't really communicate with people. This caused a tremendous amount of problems in my life at home on a small town on the rim of the outback in Australia. So I went bush at my father's urging. You could say he urged me or kicked me out, I don't know, one of the two. But anyhow, I was very happy to leave. So in the bush, I looked around and I rode my horse Queenie out there. And one of the very first things I did was I only had one set of clothes. So I thought, well, if I've got to go someplace where the people are going to see me, I should have clothes. So I took off all my clothes, built myself a loincloth out of a bit of burlap cloth, and then covered myself all in mud. And this did a couple of things. It insulated me from the cold and also from the sun. But at night I'd sleep in a mud bed I had set up by the lagoon where I was. It was plentiful with fish, and I was very happy in that situation. And I often wondered about why I was so happy there. But after reading and studying our disconnect from the earth, and I've read several books on this, and earthing is my main source of information over the years, I realized that one of the reasons for my great happiness there was I was sleeping in the earth. So I was being charged by the electromagnetic forces of the coming up through the core, from the core of the earth, and that force is what drives all living creatures on the planet. Anything that grows depends on that force for its growth, for its development. Every animal, every plant, every activity on the earth, and most of all us. Without that force, we are nobody. The worst thing you can do to a person is disconnect them from that force, which is what makes prison such a difficult place to be in. I was in a prison once for a short time in Africa, writing something about somebody in power who took exception to what I'd said. And it was only a short time, but it was a very long time. It was only like a day or two, a couple of days. But being totally disconnected from the outside and from the earth was very punishing. And I realized that isolation is probably the greatest punishment that you can inflict upon another human being. So it's this electrical force. We have to get back into it somehow. And I now realize why I was so happy living in the mud. It's just rejuvenates the body. It's like you are plugged in to that incredible electromagnetic force that's pulsing from the earth all the time. The earth is a huge, such a generator of electrical power that it's impossible for our tiny minds, our great minds, to comprehend it. It's awesome. And it provides life for everything, especially us. Without it, we are doomed. So somehow we have to get back into it. Now you can take off your shoes and just walk on the ground, and do an experiment. Take off your shoes and walk on the ground. It can be the grass, it can be even concrete, but the grass is better. Or walking on the beach barefoot, and register how you feel. See if you know you will feel a difference, and especially if you are now cognizant of gauging how you feel, how you felt before you took your shoes off, and how you feel now. Give it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, so that your body can take in that force from the earth, or walk on the beach barefoot. All of that's very, very good. But doing it regularly is a great idea. There's electrical. You can buy grounding blankets. I don't have one myself, but I've heard of them, and they sound like a good idea. Where you have a blanket that has electrical conductors in it, and you plug it into the earth, just like you plug in any electrical cable and ground it on the earth. You ground yourself with these electrical blankets. So that's one thing you can do. But most of all, you can just walk around and feel it. Now, if you got animals, that's a wonderful way to connect with the earth. Now, you can have your shoes on and approach a horse, for example, and put your hand on the horse, and you have connected to that great power of electricity from the earth, because the horse is a conductor of electricity. So we produce. Our bodies are mostly positive neons, and the earth produces negative, and so if we can get negative neons into our body, it's decreases inflation, and inflation, as I said, is the key to get rid of that. That's just an amazing thing that inflicts us all. My wife died 6 years ago, and she died of dementia. Well, dementia is a result of inflation. Your body inflates in certain places, and the brain inflates. And once the brain inflates, it impedes the flow of electricity from one side of the brain to the other, or indeed through all of the brain. So this is very important that you get back to earth and open yourself. It's like opening all the windows. You go in a room and it's foggy and stuffed up, and you open all the windows, and the fresh air comes in, and that's what happens to your body when you get into the earth. You get refreshed. And if you garden, don't garden with gloves. You want to garden with your bare hands. Get them tough. And when I was in the bush as a kid, I now realize why I was so damn happy. I was happy for a number of reasons, but one of them was that I wasn't around people, and I didn't have to worry about how I was speaking, which was pretty bad. But looking back, and with the knowledge I now have, I now realize it wasn't just my horse Queenie that enabled me to speak more clearly. I talked to Queenie all the time, my horse, and I slowed down my speech so that she could understand what I'm saying. Pretty funny, understand a horse understanding what I'm speaking, the English language, or my version of it. But it was the fact that I now realize, the fact that I was plugged into the earth. I'm messing with the horse all the time, and the horse is plugged into the earth, but most of all, I'm actually sleeping in the earth, in the mud. Now, people do that in health spas and all that. You can take a mud bath, but I'm not sure about the mud in the health spa or something like that, because the mud is not connecting you to the earth. If you had a mud bath and it was part of the earth, I think that would be an amazing thing. I've done it a couple of times since my very early times, and I must say it was a great thing. It's a bit messy and it's a bit complicated, but if you've got time, it's a good thing. It'll recharge your body. Our body is starving for electricity all of the time because of the way we live, and our shoes are rubber, and we're isolated, and we we travel around in cars that have rubber tires, and we live in places that when our feet are not in the earth, it's very challenging. Now, if you've got a dog, that's a good thing. Dog runs outside, comes back in, and he's fully charged, so you pat your dog and you get the charge from that. And if you run around yourself outside and come in and go into a tall building and run around inside the building for 4 or 5 hours and touch a doorknob, you go zap. So you've just been grounded with that zap. You've accumulated electricity, and your body has all this positive electricity, and up comes this wonderful negative electricity from the earth, and boom, you're cool. You get zapped and you feel good. A bit ouchy, but there you go, you feel good. So it's very important to reconnect with the earth. Hug a tree. Wow, sounds funny, hug a tree, but touch a tree and a tree's into the earth. Touch any living thing and it's into the earth. And we've got disconnected from all those wonderful conduits to the electricity of the earth. And we can still live in apartments and we still can do all that, no problem there. But we should make a point of connecting all the time. When you get off an aircraft someplace, then you're going to the outside, to the parking lot or whatever, and or if it's an indoor structure where you picked up your car and you're driving out the airport. Well, there's someplace somewhere where there's a lawn. Pull over, pull in the lawn, take your shoes off, walk around, because you've been on the plane, so you've been deprived of the electricity from the earth because you've been starved, so to speak, electrically speaking, on the plane. So walk around the earth and try that. You'll notice a huge difference. I notice a great difference when I'm just laying on the ground. I like to lay on the ground, and you can lay on the ground on any sort of canvas covering. Don't use plastic because you're insulating yourself from the ground, which is another problem with plastic sleeping bags. But if you've got a canvas bag, well, something electricity can go through. That's the key there. So that's my take on grounding yourself and unplugging the disconnect. We are disconnected. So take the plug from the source of the earth and plug it back in, and you'll notice an enormous difference in how you feel and how you think and how you look at others and how they look at you, because your electrical receptors are much more open, and all communication from one person to another is electrically driven. They respond to your verbiage or to your looks. It goes to their brain and they interpret that and come back at you with a response. But if your responses, if your projection of your energy is more clear, then they can receive it better, especially if they too are unearthed. So you can try these experiments yourself. Just walk on the beach and with barefoot and see how you feel. Walk on the beach with shoes, see how you feel. And the best gauge of anything is our own bodies. I've talked about finding stuff to earn a living that when you handle it, it makes you happy. I don't care what it is, music, writing, building, whatever. There's many, many things we do with our hands that certainly require our intelligence as well, and our ability to think through projects. But I was very successful as a journalist and liked it. But somehow not using my hands was a bit of a problem. Something I could handle, but it was much. I felt there was something missing that to use your hands and to use some materials that were more natural. And so then I found leather. So I started making leather things. And soon that became my main source of making a living, using leather. And I produce, for example, gun holsters. These are my guns. I compete with 45s, and I make holsters for all kind of guns. I've made holsters for the U.S. Border Patrol. I've outfitted holsters to probably 50 police departments in America and around the world. And of course, for people who are competitive shooters, and they have all kind of guns that they compete with, and every gun needs a holster. Just having guns in a place that exposes them, it doesn't extend the life of the gun. A holster will, and leather is one of the great cradlers of gunmetal that there is. For some reason, the guns don't get rusty in them. You put a gun in a canvas holster, and sure enough, it'll get rusty unless you take it out and oil it all the time. But for some reason, you put it in leather, and leather is a marvelous insulator. It will protect the gun from all kind of rust. So I make leather holsters, and I make holsters for cell phones. I wear a cell phone. There's my cell phone. I have a leather case in it like that, and I can pull that puppy out like that. It's very easy. And of course I have all kind of other leather tools that I carry. I got a belt full of leather tools, leather cases for all my tools, knives, pliers, anything. A flashlight, yeah, a flashlight. You think you might not? You think you don't need a flashlight? Yes, you do. Everybody needs a flashlight at some point. And you need a flashlight when you're never near a flashlight. It's at home, sitting on your desk drawer or something. What about wearing it on your belt? That's a good idea. But you can't just have a flashlight in your pocket. It's no good. It's a bulky thing. But put it on your belt, and it's a wonderful thing. And cases for I make briefcases out of leather, and you can make anything out of leather. Leather is man's oldest material for cases and carry things, and before we learned how to tan leather, before we learned how to tan it well, we made just cases out of cowhide. Cut a hunk of hide off a cow and stitch that together and let it dry in the sun, and it's as good as anything else. It looks a bit nasty and smells a bit nasty, but there you go. Everything dries out, and that cowhide will dry out too. I've built when I was a kid. I made things out of wet hides, we call them. Just I was in charge of killing bullocks on my family's cattle property. That's one of the things I did, and didn't mind it at all. It just render the bullock and take off the hide and hang it on a shed, hang it on something, let it dry, and you've got the extraordinary material called leather. It's friendly, it's nice to hold, and it'll wear like crazy. It's just a marvelous thing that we have called leather. Anyhow, I'm fascinated with leather, and so I make all kind of stuff out of leather, including holsters for guns and scabbards for rifles, and all kind saddles and scabbards for swords, and any other thing you want to carry with yourself or just protect. Leather will protect it. Leather will protect it better than anything else. So that's my passion, leather. And you can find me, Colin Dangard, at colindangard.com. That's Colin, Dangard, DANGAARD.com. My number is 818-309-8125. My address is 184 North Canaan Doom Road. That's Kanan Doom, Dume Road, Malibu, California, 90265. I've got a whole warehouse full of saddles and gun leather and a lot of other leather products, and I can make you a leather product for especially for some particular item that you have that you'd like to protect and wear more easily on yourself, or hang it on a bedpost or whatever. I can make leather. I can fit anything into leather. I've made scabbards for every kind of gun there is, and I've made scabbards for swords, and it doesn't matter. I can make, and I've briefcases, of course, and leather briefcases. Again, all this stuff it's very wonderful. And there's different kinds of leather I deal with, mostly cowhide, which is the toughest of all leather. But I can also make stuff out of suede leather and crocodile skin, or snake skin, or whatever. If you've got a particular thing that you want out of snake skin, well, I can find a snake skin, and you can buy snake skin, or you can find your own snake skin and send it to me and tell me what you want. Then I build a prototype out of canvas to make sure you like what it is that I'm doing, and then we can duplicate that canvas in leather or snake skin or pig skin or whatever you want. Well, thanks for listening to me. I'm Colin Dangard, and I got something I'd like to ask of you. If you like this show, click a like, or you want more, or something positive, and that'll help my numbers and help me grow this show. I need you. Thank you. I'm Colin Dangard.